To quote a famous robot, I'm back, baby. Welcome back to my seminary life. I'm your host, Brandon Knight. The break is over. The hiatus is over. The show is back and here for a while. This month is the beginning of our new series, Celebrate March. A very fun, very different, very unique series. It has nothing really to do with higher education at all. All throughout this month, each episode, we're going to celebrate somebody who was born in the month of March, who has made a contribution to religion, faith, pop culture, in some cases, all of the above. We're celebrating the 150th episode of the show, the 3-year anniversary of the show, and yes, I turned 30 this month. So with all of these things just kind of stacked on top of each other, I thought this was the right year to do this kind of a series. I don't know if this will ever come back, but what's been fun for me as I've been sitting down recording each of these episodes, starting to get ahead a little bit here, is that since the unifying theme is March, each episode is going to have a very unique topical conversation, which is still has been like very important topics to cover. In one of the episodes coming up, we are going to talk about children's ministry. So we are still talking about ministry related things here during this show, but it's been a wide-ranging conversation, and I definitely think that's going to be the case today as we start Celebrate March by celebrating the birth of Dr. Seuss, literally on his birthday. This episode is coming out on March 2nd. It is the 120th birthday of Dr. Seuss. So another reason why this is a special occasion episode. We can say it's a 120th birthday celebration episode. We're going to be reviewing the Lorax, the Illumination version, not the book, or apparently there was a not direct to DVD. What am I trying to say? TV movie. There was like a TV movie animated version that came out like in the 70s. We're here to talk about the Illumination version starring Danny DeVito as the Lorax and also a whole bunch of other people. This movie is stacked. And to have this conversation, I have brought back with me my wife, Claire, and I'm going to stall for half a second because she's having a snack while we're recording. So I'll make sure that she has a clear mouth. Welcome back to the show.
Hello.
So again, we're going to be talking about Dr. Seuss and the Lorax. So hold on. Pop quiz, Claire. Mm-hmm. What is Dr. Seuss's full name?
I have no idea.
No guess at all?
I don't know.
Okay. So Seuss is his middle name. Okay. Would you like to go from there? He was born in 1904. Does that help at all? Think old-fashioned names.
Like Robert or something.
Theodore Seuss Geisel.
That's a bummer.
That's a bummer. That's your response, is that's a bummer. Was Dr. Seuss actually a doctor? Do you know, was Dr. Seuss actually a doctor?
As far as I'm concerned.
He does not have a PhD or a demon or any of the other versions that mean you're a doctor. So Dr. Seuss is his official, what do you call that?
A pseudonym, nom de plume.
Pseudonym, nom de plume?
Well, those are different things. A pseudonym, a pen name, nom de plume. They're all different. They mean the same thing. Like a fake name.
Interesting. He used a couple other ones. Dr. Seuss.
Was one of them.
What was that?
P.D. Eastman, I believe, is one of them.
One of his other pseudonyms?
Yeah, because I think that is... we have one that says P.D. Eastman instead. I can't remember which one it is.
Rosetta Stone is another one that came up. Another one of his pen names.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Like the thing that had all the different languages on it.
I know what the Rosetta Stone is. Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. There was another one. I can't remember. But no, Dr. Seuss does not have a doctorate. It's a pen name or nom de plume or whatever.
I think one of them is Theo, so Theodore, and then his last name backwards, Liesig or something like that. I think that's another one.
I really like that one. I really like that one. He did go to Oxford, though, for his master's, which when an American goes to Oxford, that's pretty cool. Unless you're in England and you go to Oxford and an American showing up, probably it's a bit of a bummer.
I mean, I think we have that effect most places.
Dr. Seuss is, for those of you who may not know, is a children's author and illustrator, arguably one of the most well-known, iconic ones of all time, having authored roughly 60 children's books, including the Lorax, as we're going to discuss today, The Cat in the Hat, The Cat in the Hat Comes Back, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, trying to think what other ones out there, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, Green Eggs and Ham, and the one that everyone has to quote at their high school commencement, Oh, the Places You Will Go. So, Claire, for the past almost 2 years now, we have been regularly reading Dr. Seuss books to producer Cooper because, as I said, Dr. Seuss is a staple on most children's bookshelves. Is there any that, as you have been reading these to Cooper, really stand out to you, or maybe are even like, I wish he would stop picking this one?
I actually don't like One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. It's entirely too long, and I can't stand it.
It is very long. I will agree with that. I think I'm also not a fan personally of Are You My Mother? That one's almost too short.
The version we have, the board book version, that's not the full thing. It's like a shortened version for a board book. The actual story is longer.
Well, maybe we should go find the actual story because the board book version kind of bums me out a little bit.
Yes.
Dr. Seuss's books have also been transitioned into film and television for a very long time. Even when he was like actively writing these, his works were being turned into Warner Brothers cartoons or feature-length films. Dr. Seuss did write one original film script, not a book that was turned into one of his movies, but an original screenplay for a fantasy musical comedy film called The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. I have not seen this movie, but I've heard it is rather odd. That's all I've ever gotten.
It actually got turned into a movie. I didn't realize. You told me he wrote the screenplay. I didn't know that it actually became a movie because people write screenplays all the time and nothing happens with them.
It's on Tubi. We can pull. It's supposed to be on Tubi. So if you want to do that for a movie night,
watch it. I would like to watch that very much.
It sounds like the kind of silly. When you go on the app Just Watch, as we're doing all these free plugs that I don't get paid for. When you go on the app Just Watch and pull up the film, it gives you related movies, and it's all the trippy 60s films I like the Monkees movie had. It's all these really trippy films that mess with your head, but not in a bougie Christopher Nolan kind of way.
Sweet.
Anyway, so Dr. Seuss's works have been turned into films for a very long time. Probably the most recognizable one would be How the Grinch Stole Christmas, whether it's the Boris Karloff version or the Jim Carrey version. I kind of doubt the Benedict Cumberbatch version, but those other two are very much so staples for people during the Christmas season. Claire's giving a big okay. I think during your last appearance, you talked about how that was one of your favorite Christmas movies.
Flawless movie.
It's one of Jim Carrey's best performances for sure.
No notes.
No notes.
Did I use that right?
You're asking the wrong person. I'm the one turning 30.
I guess I'll have to ask my teenagers eventually.
How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Of course, there's also the one we don't talk about, the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat. We don't talk about that one.
Who doesn't talk about that? I will always talk about that movie. That movie is hilarious. It is a fantastic child-friendly acid trip. I love it.
I think that's what the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T is going to be, is a kid-friendly acid trip. So maybe. And his works continue to be adapted into films. Warner Brothers Animation in 2025, 26, and 27 will be scheduled to release. Of course, it's Warner Brothers, so we'll see what gets canceled. But in 25, we're supposed to get an animated Cat in the Hat. 26, Thing 1 and Thing 2 are getting their own film. And then 27, Oh, the Places You Will Go. I don't know if anybody is attached to those yet. I don't know how you do Oh, the Places You Will Go.
Don't ask me. I don't know either. I only ever read that book in school at the end of the school year. So, like, I don't care.
Yeah. You know the one that they should do? Butter Battle Book. You ever read Butter Battle Book?
Maybe.
It's an anti-war book. It's an anti-Cold War book. Or, not anti-Cold War, but it's anti-war. It's very much a reference a few people will get. It's very much the iconic scene from The Untouchables with Sean Connery of, like, how war just continues to escalate until it's just mutual destruction. And that's what this book is talking about, is how, like, war just leads to just the demise of everybody if we just keep escalating things. This is a children's book.
They wonder how we all became so radicalized, as they say. But, like, they were giving us anti-war books, pro-environment books, anti-capitalism movies, all while we were growing up. And I'm watching these and I'm like, you told us to do this. You can't be mad now.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool that, like, when it comes to Dr. Seuss, he has his books that are, like, iconic for being just really fun to read, right? Green Eggs and Ham, you know, The Cat in the Hat. Like, these are just, like, iconic, fun, Mr. Brown Can Moo, Can You? Of just, like, silly rhyming stories with made-up words, Walk It in My Pocket, things like that. And then anti-war story, pro-environmental story, anti-capitalism, or even, like, Oh, the Places You Will Go does have a, you know, even though it's overused in the, like, high school commencement speech thing, it is a bit of, like, this existential journey kind of, like, you don't know what life has in store for you kind of thing. So he has, like, the majority of his work is, like, very much this, like, for fun children's entertainment, but then there's, like, this small pocket of, like, yeah, I'm really going to put some chips down on some of these stories, you know? So with all that in mind, listeners, you may be curious of all of these, why the Lorax and why the movie? Well, there's two reasons for that. One of those is what I just said, of the Lorax as opposed to One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, has a bit more of a bit more substance to it. There's a message here, whether it is the book or the movie. But the other reason why specifically the Lorax is because we're going to get a little geeky here for a moment. Not that talking about children's books aren't already geeky. This movie is an Illumination film. And Claire, you have thoughts when it comes to Illumination. Would you like to tell us your thoughts on Illumination Entertainment?
Illumination Entertainment is melting our children's brains. It's terrible. This is the only good Illumination movie. The rest of it, garbage. Despicable Me, can't stand it. Those stupid minions, oh my gosh, they are the most annoying things on the face of the earth. I guess if you like it, I'm not going to judge you. Like what you like, enjoy the things that you enjoy, but they're stupid.
The one of the taglines over at Systematic Geekology is "Like what you like and don't be a jerk." I think it was on the back of my T-shirt there for a while. So this is it. This is the only good Illumination film.
Yes.
Hop with Russell Brand.
I guess I've never seen that one, but it's probably terrible.
Sing.
Terrible.
Secret Life of Pets.
Garbage.
The new one with ducks, Migration.
I haven't seen that one yet. Though they did use a Taylor Swift song in the trailer.
Yeah, and on Taylor Swift, can we just address the fact, you brought this up when we were watching the movie, she has a character in this movie, like a B character, so a pretty pivotal character to the plot. No song. She didn't get a single song on this.
Right. Even at the end when they all sing the song and there's all these like little different snippets, she doesn't even get like a 3-line solo. Nothing.
Hashtag the Lorax Taylor's version.
Honestly, that's what I want. Taylor Swift, if you're listening to this, please.
First off, hi.
Please write your own version of the Lorax soundtrack. That is all.
This movie does contain probably, I shouldn't say probably, I would say safe to say the best original Illumination song. And I guess we can debate which one that is, but I think we're on the same page with that song.
We have the anti-capitalism song.
Correct. But going back to Illumination, I will disagree with you on one thing, and then I will agree with you on the rest of it. I do like the original Despicable Me. I do like the original one. Should that movie have merited 3 soon to be, or excuse me. Yeah. Number 4 is coming out this year. And there's been 2 Minions films as well. I don't know if that movie was that good. And I can see how someone could find the Minions a little irritating.
I have an ex-boyfriend who would regularly speak like a minion. Just because. No reason. Just always.
I'm glad you dumped him.
Ick. The ick. Gross.
He had the ick.
He gave me the ick. I had the ick.
No, he was just ick.
I mean, yes, that too.
I will say this, though, on Illumination, and this might go a little bit to what you're meaning by melting our children's minds. I find their stuff to be very safe and very, like, carbon copy of each other. I said this when we were watching the film. If you told me that every single Illumination film was part of the same shared universe, I would believe you, because these movies all look the same. The animation style looks the same across the board, and not in a good way, not like in a Disney or Pixar or DreamWorks like iconic kind of way, but in like a you just swapped out the characters. And when it comes to the plot of most of their movies, I find them to be, outside of this one, I find the plots of a lot of these films to be very just cookie cutter kids movie, you know? At the risk of being cast out of the geek community, which, by the way, we both liked Madam Web, so we were already kicked out of the geek community. But at the risk of being kicked out of the geek community, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, you didn't watch it. Cooper and I did. It was fine. I don't know.
Illumination?
Yes, that is an Illumination film.
Oh, right. That's why I wouldn't go and see it with you, because I refuse. I will not give Illumination any of my money. I hope that the company goes under. Please stop making movies.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but there's another Despicable Me, another Sing, and another Secret Life of Pets all in the works.
Come up with a new idea.
I'm going to talk about that one as well, but let me finish my thought on the Super Mario Bros. Movie, because no one has asked me to come talk about it on SG, so I'll just do it here. So it's just, I feel like I'm supposed to like it, and it was really just fine. everyone talks about how great Jack Black was as Bowser, and he was, but that's really it when it comes to this movie. I don't even know why Luigi was in the movie. I think if you cut Luigi out of the story, it's nothing changes. I think it's basically the same movie at that point. They made a bright colored film because it did hold Cooper's attention for that, and then threw in there just quick video game references for all of the parents watching the movie to sit there and do the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen meme. Like, it was just fine. Is it fair that almost 30-year-old and also you is sitting here critiquing children's movies?
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, yes, it's a movie for kids. But the thing about it is that other companies, for a very long time, have been making children's movies that also appeal to adults. So it's possible. You're just not trying hard enough.
I will always go back to the Spider-Verse films from Sony, the Lego movies from Warner Brothers, and even the Sonic the Hedgehog films from Paramount as examples of well-written kids movies that hold adults' attention. There's other ones, and I think for us, we're going to be biased because, like, we'll sit here and easily tell you that Finding Nemo was an amazing movie or Shrek, but we grew up watching those. Whereas these other films, these more recent ones, especially with Spider-Verse, the animation's amazing, and the writing is very good. They write very engaging stories for adults. I saw the Lego movie on my 21st birthday. Like, that's what I did. Everyone else goes out and, goes cray-cray. I was sitting there watching Lego characters talk to each other. So you brought up the whole have an original idea thing, right? Mm-hmm. So in the 14-year existence of Illumination, there's been soon to be 4 Despicable Me movies plus 2 spinoffs, soon to be 3 Sing films, soon to be 3 Secret Life of Pet films, 2 Dr. Seuss movies, The Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch is the other one, and then like Hop and Migration. So basically in 14 years, the extent of their film catalog is sequels.
They are solely... I truly believe that the company is only afloat because of the Minions, because they sell so much crap for kids. That is the Minions. I believe it with all of my heart.
By comparison, Pixar, in their first 14 years, so when you were 14 years old, because you were born when the first movie came out, there were 2 Toy Story films. All the rest of their films up until that point were standalone.
The third one hadn't come out yet?
It was the next year. Oh. The third one came out in 13. And with that, even though there's a 5th Toy Story film coming out, and there was technically the Lightyear spinoff, and also technically 2 Lightyear spinoffs, because Disney's just going to keep brushing past Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Justice for Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
We love Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. Listen here, Bob Iger. Is that how you say his name? Listen here, Bobby. Give us Buzz Lightyear of Star Command back.
The movie and the TV show.
And really put your... this is a Christian podcast. Really put your money where your mouth is. Stop making merch for the Star Wars holiday special and actually put it on the app.
But actually don't.
I mean,
stop making merch for the holidays, for the Star Wars holiday special.
It's a load of crap.
It would be better for everyone.
It really is. I really wanted to like that movie, that special, like ironically, because it was bad, but no, it's just bad.
I thought for sure I was going to be the one true Star Wars fan who liked the Star Wars Christmas special, and and I am not.
Pastor Will, if you're listening, hit us up. Let us know what are your thoughts on the Star Wars Christmas special. Anyway, yeah, so, and even DreamWorks, like, by the time they had their 14-year anniversary, they had done basically all the Shrek films. And there were 2 Kung Fu Panda films and 3 Madagascar films. But also, DreamWorks pumped out a ton of movie. There's a lot of just one-off films in their catalog, even within their first 14 years. Like,
DreamWorks did Prince of Egypt. They are good in my book because that movie's flawless.
You're also a big Shrek person as well.
I am also a big Shrek person.
Not a Kung Fu Panda person.
Well, I don't like Jack Black.
But you are, which is another reason why you didn't watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie, but you are a big How to Train Your Dragon fan.
Chef's kiss.
We have to go to Universal once they get that area open. Because there's the island of Burke. Is that what that thing's called? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let's get back on the actual Illumination and the Lorax now. 25 minutes, and we haven't even talked about the movie yet. This is like an episode of The Basement Yard. Haven't even got to the thing yet. So all of that is to say, this is the one exception. And why don't you explain to us why this is the one exception outside of the fact that Taylor Swift's in it?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's Danny DeVito is the Lorax. Also, I think it has a sentimental place in my heart. I went to go see this with my best friend Alyssa. Whenever it came out, and like it wasn't like a particularly like amazing movie, but like we had fun together. And she bought it for me. The copy we have, she bought for me for my birthday, and we have like inside jokes about it. I remember we made a friendship bucket list. And on that bucket list was to go into the forest, chop down a tree, find the Lorax, and kidnap him and make him our pet or something.
That's awesome. You've never told me that story. I knew you and Alyssa had saw that movie together. So is that what you have to do in order to like is that what Illumination has to do to get you back, is make a movie that somehow is appealing enough for you two to go see it?
No. Because here's the thing. The Lorax is still it's still a halfway decent movie. It's got a really good cast. The music is above average. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but it's not garbage either. I feel like it's actually got a good plot. It's not just, the same thing over and over again. I think it's got a good message.
Bless you. So while she takes care of that, yeah, I would say that this is a really good soundtrack. I actually really like the music. There's the one really good song in there, but I think the whole soundtrack, like start to finish, is actually really good. I saw this like just a few years ago for the first time. I don't know. I think this one just kind of fell by the wayside. We never got to it. Along with Danny DeVito and Taylor Swift, this movie also stars, what's his face? Zac Efron, High School Musical, Iron Claw Boy. Zac Efron, Betty White, and Ed Helms. It's a stacked group right there. It's a funny group, and also Zac Efron. Would you like to take us through kind of the basic, what is going on here in the story?
Okay. So there's this boy who wants to impress a girl, and the girl is really wants to see a real live tree. There's no real trees. Air is sold in bottles because there's no trees, no real trees. And so this girl wants to see a real tree. And so this boy wants to find out how he can find a real tree. And he finds out, I don't exactly remember. We just watched this movie 2 days ago, but I don't remember. I think his grandma tells him to go outside the city to this place where this guy called the Onceler lives. And the Onceler will tell him how to get a real tree. So he goes, he finds the Onceler, and through a series of visits, he basically tells him this story of how he's the reason that trees are gone because he was selfish trying to make some clothing item. But while this is happening, the guy, the capitalist, who is in charge of selling all of the air to the people who need to breathe, he does not like that somebody is finding out about trees because trees produce air for free. It's called photosynthesis. So he is actively trying to keep this boy from learning about trees. But that does not stop him. He continues to go to the Onceler. The Onceler finally gets to the end of the story, says, I screwed up. I chopped down all these trees so I could make this clothing item and get lots and lots of money. Capitalism ruined the environment. But there is one seed left. And the Onceler is like waiting for the right person to give it to. And he realizes, yes, you are the person I'm supposed to give this seed to. So he gives him the seed and he goes to take the seed back to show it to this girl so he can impress her. But, bad guy capitalist wants to get rid of the seed, wants to destroy the seed. So they kind of go through a chase throughout the city, blah, 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 blah. Eventually they kind of all get cornered by all of the people in the city, and they give this impassioned speech about how trees create air for free and we should be caring for them and that they're amazing. And so all the townspeople are like, yeah, no, let's plant this tree. And so they do. And then lots of trees start to grow. So, I didn't even mention the Lorax.
No.
In the flashbacks, basically the Onceler is, he's trying to create this item of clothing. And he finds out that the best material is the stuff in these trees. And so he cuts down a tree so that he can take all of they're not leaves, whatever it is, the material off of them. And it invokes the wrath of Danny DeVito. Who he comes down and basically is like, hey, you can't do that. I am taking care of the trees. I speak for the trees and you can't cut them down. So initially he agrees, okay, I won't cut them down. I will just pick the material off of the trees, but it's not going fast enough because people start really liking his product. And so then his family convinces him to cut down the trees. And in his quest for fame and fortune, he cuts down every single tree. I don't know how any of these people are alive. And then he creates this need for this guy to come in and sell air in bottles. So that's the movie.
And they do end up planting the seed and, start producing their own air. A few minor details to fill in from me. So the villain's name is O'Hare, and I only remember that because airport. Mm-hmm. Also, it's been a while since, if you're not from around here, O'Hare Airport, it's a big airport in Chicago. It's the one you don't go to. All my friends who are living on the East Coast, please fly into Midway if you're ever going to come visit me. Don't go to O'Hare. I ain't picking you up.
You're going to be Ubering. You'll be Ubering if you decide to go to O'Hare Airport.
Midway will get you. Anyway, it's been a while since I've read the actual book, so I can't remember if the fact that O'Hare is selling bottled air to them is a thing for the movie or if that came from the book or not. Either way, plot point of Spaceballs as well. That was, they were selling air. They were going to destroy Princess Vespa's planet and steal all of their air for planet Spaceballs. I know you only watched the movie with me one time, so maybe you don't remember all these details. But like this is like also shows up in that movie of like stealing air and selling bottles of air so that way people can breathe. And just to point out, they do have trees, but they're all like plastic. It's basically like plastic artificial Christmas trees everywhere. And you're right, the fancy trees that they use to make the thneeds. It's not leaves, it's almost more like feathers on top, you know? Yeah. It's like
they're called like truffula trees, I think. So they're like fluffy.
Yeah, they're very pretty. They're like pink and orange and colors like that. So you kept pointing out the anti-capitalism part. I'll come with the Tolkien hook. Especially with the iconic song in this movie of it is, especially with O'Hare, it is and the Onceler, once he like really starts giving in to like the desire to become rich and powerful, it is very much just like this is what happens when you get sold out to capitalism and you get sold out to the allure of money and power. I'm trying to avoid the word fame because that's not like a part of this story particularly. I think in the real world that is also a part of it, but in this movie
mostly just money.
But you also have, I told you this when we were watching the movie because it really had dawned on me when we were watching it a couple days ago. This is like children's Lord of the Rings because it's also very much anti-industrialization, because as Onceler's product starts to get popular and they do start cutting down trees, they just don't cut down trees with axes. It really does look like Mordor. Like it gets very industrial, very like the machinery isn't bright and shiny. It's, it immediately looks dark and dingy, and it also kind of looks like Springfield. There's like the one scene during that song, they like dump sludge all over the fish, and it's like the nuclear waste plant just like dumping nuclear waste into the river in Springfield.
Well, the one boy is green. He turns green because he goes in the water and there's like chemicals in the water. The one little boy.
Yeah, that's like a thing there at the end of this at the end of the movie as well during the closing song. For those of you who may not have seen this movie, so Ed Helms plays the Onceler, and if you don't know who Ed Helms is, you're missing out on like the best character from The Office. I think he was in the Hangover too, but obviously The Office is better. And he has this song called "How Bad Can It Be?" I think it's what it's called.
Bad can I be?
How bad can I be? I'm just doing what comes naturally. And I think that's the part I really like about like the message of that song of like, this is natural. He even talks about how she's messing with my mic stand. He even talks about evolution and how like, this is just survival of the fittest. Like I figured it out, industrialization is the next step in the evolutionary process. And that means I get to destroy all of nature because this is the next step. How bad can I be? I'm just doing what comes naturally. And I think he talks a little bit about like business model as well, kind of like a supply and demand kind of thing. Almost like a They Live, Keith David talking about the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules kind of thing. Like once I have all of this power, I can do what I want kind of thing.
I totally lost what I was going to say. Give me a second.
You keep fiddling with the mic stand. Was it about the song? Do 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 do. Also, there's a lot of little fun like Easter eggs. There's like minions hidden throughout this movie. Like, yeah, one time he opens a drawer and there's like a minion doll in there. But there's an Easter egg that it's kind of like a headcanon thing. I cannot confirm nor deny that this is actually like an Easter egg, but this is headcanon for me. So the Onceler, up until he gets bitten by the industrialization capitalist anti-capitalism bug. He's actually not that bad of a guy. Like, he's just trying to, like, make a name for himself. His family is trash. Like, he comes from, like, a verbally abusive family, essentially. And once his product takes off, he invites his family to come live with him and to work on the farm, essentially, to make the product. And one of his relatives, his aunt, comes to live with him, and her name is Aunt Griselda. And one of the best Monkees songs is called Auntie Griselda, and it's a song about, like, this super pretentious woman who, like, just steps on people and judges people, and that's definitely this woman. I cannot find anything online that says that this is actually a reference to that song, but I'm just going to keep it that way in my head. Did you ever remember the thing that you were going to say? Or is it gone?
I think it's gone.
Okay, do you have anything to say about my random Monkees reference?
I just don't understand why you didn't ask me to Google it, because I absolutely would have been able to find a definitive answer, because I am the master of Googles.
She really is, folks. Like, she can find things. And I think it's not just the fact that you can find stuff. I think it's the speed at which you're able to find information that takes not just me, but other people as well, a long time to try and figure out.
I figured out who the new pastor of our church was going to be based on a first name and a state.
Like,
it's a common first name. His first name is Ben. And I think maybe it took 10 minutes. If
that.
Yeah. Anyway.
So for all you feds listening to this show, because we know you are, we know you are. We're not even gonna play. I know that just got me marked on the notebook thingy, but yeah, if you want to hire my wife, she's got a really good job right now, but you know, who knows? Feds might pay well. You never know.
I don't know. Did you know though? I learned that the kids are not saying Google it anymore. They're saying search it up.
On Sesame Street, they teach kids to look it up.
Right.
So search it up. That's actually kind of lame.
I think so. I think Google it sounds way better.
It's much shorter.
I guess maybe they're trying to be sensitive to people who use different search engines.
We don't need to be sensitive to that. We don't need to be sensitive. I'm all for, like, making people feel comfortable. We don't need to be sensitive to that. Use DuckDuckGo or Bing or whatever. Or what's the other one? Internet Explorer? That's not what we call it anymore. Edge, that one. So, why is this anti-capitalism, anti-industrialization story, why is it something that you think is important?
I think that obviously taking care of our world, our environment is important for a lot of different reasons. Number one, it's where we live, and if we don't take care of it, we will no longer have a place to live. And I would like to ensure that my son has a place to live, and his children and his children's children have a safe and healthy environment to live in. So that's one reason. Number two, it's God's creation, and we are technically supposed to be, we are the stewards of this planet that God gave us. And so we need to be good stewards of it. We need to take care of it, make sure it continues to grow and thrive. And that's just not happening. But also, I think understanding that when it comes to environmentalism and things like that and maintaining our environment, understanding that while we should all as individuals be taking steps to ensure that we are doing our part, the main contributors to environmental damage and climate change and all of those things are big corporations who cut corners to make more money. And that's just a very short-sighted way of thinking, but we have fostered, and I mean, I'm sure part of this is just due to them being selfish, but we have also kind of fostered this ideal that you need to have all this money and you need to claim it for yourself, and there's never enough, and there's no stopping it. And I don't know, I just think that like we as citizens need to be loud about making stricter laws and things like that to prevent these companies from being able to destroy our environment and the environment that will be left to our children and grandchildren just so that they can make a couple more bucks. That just doesn't seem worth it, but for some reason money blinds people to that and they just don't care, and that's not right.
Plus, who wants to buy air? Like, can we just come back to that one for a second? Who wants to spend the rest of their life buying bottled air?
I don't think that would work. I think we would all just suffocate, honey. I think we would all just die.
We can figure it out. We've figured out a lot of things. We can figure out how to bottle air.
I don't want to figure it out.
I'm sure someone already has. Yeah, I think... So a couple things there. I have heard it said before, and I can't necessarily quantify this with a stat or anything, but I've heard it said before that one reason why some Christians kind of get real anti-climate change, anti-environmental is because of their understanding of the end times, of how this is all just going to burn anyway. So why it almost comes to this like why bother kind of mentality. And she's sitting here shaking her head. Eventually we'll have to do a video with you in it because, you know, video reactions. But yeah, I've heard this said before that like this is part of the reason, and it comes down to like their understanding of their eschatology. But as you were saying, I think that's another way that like that's a very short-sighted mentality, because you also don't know when Jesus, no matter what your eschatology is, if you are like a pre-tribulation rapture, you're getting taken out of here before it all goes to, you know, whatever, like even if that's your standpoint, you still don't know when Jesus is coming back. So that's an incredibly short-sighted mentality of like, why would I buy into all of this? Obviously, there's also people out there who are anti-science, and there's Christians who are very anti-science, and anything that gets brought up from a politically left person, like the climate change issue, is just going to immediately be dismissed as some, you know, woke liberal agenda. And you know what? We don't have time to unpack all of that. But it's there, like, you know, when you maybe the short version is when your faith is very party lined. I think that's another reason why some believers would kind of brush this off as an issue. The issue of money is so fascinating, particularly with Christians. You know, it does not surprise me that a person like Marcus Zuckerberg is going, I don't know if that's actually his first name, is going to make decisions that is going to make him the most amount of money, because that's the end game. That's the whole point, right? Money, power, information, like that's the currencies, right? So it does not surprise me that a fellow like that would do something like that. You know, any of the big business guys. It's the Christians who are this weird, like, both and of give everything to God. What is the thing that all of us have heard 1,000 times that pastors say? Show me your checkbook and I'll show you where your heart is, or something like that. Also, none of us use checkbooks anymore. You know that saying. There's that mentality, the Dave Ramsey mentality, but at the same time, like, those same Christians will also be like extremely penny pinchers, so they can save up a lot of money and then have a really good like retirement, you know? And like, obviously you need to save money to retire, especially those of us who are millennials who are never going to retire. We need to save all the money we can. But I feel like there are some Christians who live like this really weird, like we have to give everything we can to the Lord, but also like hoard money at the same time. Like money has a very strange effect on people. I saw it with my grandfather, you know, the one who recently passed away. We're going through everything, and he had a lot of money and could have helped a lot of people, and he didn't. And I think part of that is a generational thing. He grew up part of the greatest generation, grew up during the latter half of the Great Depression. So definitely that mentality of hoard everything. Hoard everything. You know, Cool Whip containers, he had a ton of those for no reason. But I think we've also have turned at times in Christianity this mindset of hoard everything into like a quasi virtue. Like Jesus wants you to hoard everything so that way you can give it to God. It's like this like backdoor way of being able to like hoard stuff.
I mean, I think obviously there is wisdom in saving and things like that. And like,
she works at a bank.
Right. And that like you should be prepared for unexpected things. You should have a savings if you are able to, and saving for retirement, or even like having extra to, if you want to pass some along to your kids and grandkids after you're gone. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But once you become a billionaire, neither you or your children or your children's children are going to use that much money. There is no possible way. You're not doing anything with that money. It is just sitting there so that you can be rich. And that to me is psychotic. I just don't understand. Obviously, it's why they become so rich is because they're this selfish, but I just don't understand how a person could be that selfish. It is mind-boggling to me that someone could say, I could still be rich but also solve world hunger. No, I guess I'll just be rich on my own and not solve. Like, you have so much freaking money. I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos is on track to be the world's first trillionaire. That is an unfathomable amount of money. And so much good could be done with that. And just, nope, just going to keep it. Just going to keep all of these assets and money. And like, obviously, like, it's not all just sitting in a bank. Like, he has money and assets and things like that. But this man has more riches than anyone could ever possibly do anything with. But he's just going to keep it because it makes him look cool. I don't even know. Like, what? I don't understand. Jeff Bezos, I need to speak to you because I need to understand your brain. But like, I don't know. Like, just do something good with that. I don't get it.
CEO, entrepreneur, born in 1964, Jeffrey Bezos. Yeah, I think, I know this isn't the biggest issue for him to solve, but I think if he ever like surpasses the national debt of the U.S., then we really just need to ask him to like, okay, pay up, buddy. Like, you know, I know that's not the biggest issue. World hunger is a bigger deal.
They don't even pay taxes on this stuff. I'm sitting here paying taxes out the wazoo. But no, Jeff Bezos can't pay taxes because then he won't want to keep making money. And so then there'll be... What? I'm sorry, you want to pay off our country's debt? You want to pay for whatever the heck our country needs that we're, you know, because we, like, the country just needs things. But we're not going to tax the man who literally has $1 trillion?
He's just going to keep making weird looking rockets. Or was that Elon Musk?
I think they both. I think they both made rockets, but I don't freaking know.
Like I know they have talked about on the Holy Post that at like some point these guys just kind of go back to being children. Because remember there for a while, Zuckerberg and Elon Musk were going to fight each other in a cage match, and they wanted to have it in the Coliseum. And this was a real conversation that happened between two grown adults at one point in time.
People are dying. There are so many worthy things to give money to. But you're going to build a rocket that is
silly looking. We're just going to
silly looking.
We're just going to go with silly looking. So we need to it's one thing to sit here and to critique, which is definitely the bulk of the movie. But you do get to the end there when Zac Efron's character, Ted, I believe, which is also supposed to be a reference to Dr. Seuss, yeah. Theodore. And he gets up and he says, I speak for the trees. He does the Lorax line. I speak for the trees. So how can we, obviously, we can only do so much because we're here in the middle class, but how do we speak for the trees? Also, let's talk about tithing. That's a joke. But how do we speak for the trees where we're at right now?
I think that we all still have a personal responsibility. Obviously, being able to be environmentally conscious is a privilege that costs money. Not everybody can do that, but it could just be as simple as turning your lights off to save energy, just simple things like that. Or I know people get pooped on for this all the time, but skip the cup or skip the straw and the lid. If you have a water bottle, I'm talking to all you Stanley people, if you have a Stanley, stop buying more. Overconsumption is a huge issue. It has a huge impact on the environment. If you can, wear secondhand clothing. There are lots and lots of little things that you can do that could potentially end up saving you money. Did you know that it is actually more environmentally friendly if you are searching for a car to purchase? It is more environmentally friendly to purchase a used car that uses traditional fuel than it is to buy a brand new electric car. So, I'm just saying, there are lots of things, and we don't think about that. However, I will say the biggest thing, I think the biggest way we can use our voice, and I hope and pray that this never gets taken away from us, but we can use our vote. That's, vote for candidates who care about the environment, who want to make sure that these big companies are held accountable, who want to pass laws to, to keep these things from happening in the future. That is a huge way. We live somewhere that we can use that voice. Obviously, pray, seek God's wisdom in those things, but we do have a voice, and we can tell the people who can make those decisions what we want. So yeah, I'm sure if you look up just ways to personally be more environmentally conscious, you will find a lot of things, but also make sure that, and not just nationally, locally too, make sure you're voting for people who want to keep your local parks clean and things like that. Change happens, change starts small, and will get bigger. So it may not seem like it's making an impact, but and then listen to people who know what they're talking about. Environmental scientists who went to school for a really, really, really long time and spend their entire lives researching these things. They probably know what they're talking about, and we should listen to them.
Also, don't buy NFTs. They leave ginormous carbon footprints. Stop buying those things.
Were people ever actually buying those?
Yes.
That felt fake to me. Like, we all were just pretending people were buying NFTs, but nobody was actually buying NFTs.
I would also be curious how big of a carbon footprint cybercurrency leaves.
Also, hi, Taylor Swift. I know I asked you earlier to make a album, but also, could you please be more responsible in using your private jet? You have one of the largest carbon footprints of any celebrity. So, just be conscious of that. Thank you.
Yes, be conscious of that. What else was I going to say? Reusable straws, like the metal ones. I actually really like that. Get some metal straws. I should see if I can make some for the MSL shop. A little MSL logo printed on the tiny side. And I was also going to bring up the secondhand clothing thing, because I think that part blurs a little bit into the other conversation that we were having of kind of this, like, not so much anti-capitalism, but like a good way to be both environmentally conscious and financially conscious of, like, you might have to rummage around a little bit, but go to your local Goodwill. Like, you can find things that you can find clothes there. You will be able to find clothes there. I very frequently have found really great ties that people just don't want anymore. And obviously there's people that we all know on social media who kind of does this as like a side hustle. Actually, Claire mentioned her bestie, Alyssa, her husband. This is something he does, Cotton Closet on Instagram, where he curates men's clothing from vintage shops. So, and that's just kind of a way to be like environmentally mindful, and also I think like in a good way to be somewhat financially responsible as well, because you can find some like really good clothing there for a really good price without having to support Jeff Bezos, who has plenty of money.
I mean, the guy who owns Goodwill is also a capitalist and is still making money off of our used clothing. But obviously, it's not perfect. Nothing we do is going to be perfect. But just do your best, buy better, like if you can, buy good quality clothes that last a long time. Don't over purchase clothing and then, have to get rid of a whole bunch of it. Or, I know a lot of these fast fashion things like Shein, places like Forever 21, H&M, all of those types of places that sell these cheap clothing, like they're just constantly going through stuff. And most of their stuff ends up in the garbage, and then that ends up in landfills, and it takes a long time. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hard because it seems like nothing that you do is ever enough, and there's always going to be a problem with whatever you do. And there is, and nobody's going to do it perfect, and just do what you can and do the best that you can with what you are able within your means. And then also doing what we can to hold those companies responsible for the damage that they've done to our environment.
And get a bottle of Dawn soap and wash a duck. Like in the commercial. If I ever catch any of you not tearing the little plastic soda bottle, plastic holder thingy all the way up, we're going to have words. Those things kill sea turtles all the time. Like literally every 83 seconds. Okay, so that's it for today's episode. Thanks, Bibe. For being here to talk about the Lorax. Thank you all for listening to this episode.
Thank you for letting me be a liberal for a little while.
I always let you be a liberal. I just gave you a microphone this time. as always, you can head into the description of this episode to find all the important things. If you would like to support the show financially, you can head on over to buymeacoffee.com/MSLpod. You can make a one-time donation. You can support. We got a little fundraiser going on there to raise support to get a new laptop. You can order a commission of a study guide written by me. You get to pick the chapter out of the New Testament. Or there is a monthly subscription that you can do. It gets you access to exclusive blog posts. Everyone who supports the show at the $9 a month tier gets a shout out here on the show. Would you like to give Lori her shout out?
Hi, Lori.
Thank you for listening once again. We will be back this Tuesday. That's right. Why are we going to be back this Tuesday? It's because this Tuesday is the 150th episode. So you get 2 MSL episodes next week. This coming Tuesday, I will be joined by Buddy Walk with Jesus's, that's a hard word to say, very own Joe Day to wish the man, the myth, the legend himself, Chuck Norris, a very happy birthday. Why are you rolling your eyes? This is a very logical episode for me to do. Thank you all for listening.
Are you doing an episode for International Women's Day?
I will next year. I do want to do like a women's themed. I think I told you before, okay, we're just going to like peel back the curtain and not end the episode. I want to do in a very appropriate way, like a month that focuses on women. So like, I don't know if there is like this is like Women's Month too, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So like the month of March at some point would be like a highlight reel through like women theologians. I've also have thought about doing that for Black History Month as well, and focusing on Black, African American, African, what have you, theologians, even, you know, other categories as well, other peoples as well. I just haven't been able to figure out how to do it well yet, because I think there's a difference. But I think if it's Women's Month here on MSL and we're going to talk about women theologians and it's a bunch of bros doing it, I think that's not quite right. I think it might work better with women. I think. Same with like, you know, if I did one for Black History Month, and it's just a bunch of honkies talking about, that's right, it's just a bunch of gringos talking about, you know, Martin Luther King Jr. for several weeks. Like, I feel like that's not quite right. So that is something in the brainstorming phase still, and something I do really want to do. But yeah. So not this go around, but hopefully in the future. But yeah, we have quite the interesting list of people that we're going to be highlighting this month. Should I just do like a Beth Moore Bible study when I do International Women? That's a joke. I'll do a Jen Wilkin one instead. Thanks for listening. And as always, this is Brandon signing off. And let's just do it. Let's do this episode right. Signing off, reminding you as always to speak for the trees.